let me do a quick introduction. Let me close all these small windows. So, guys, I hope you can see my screen. I'm sharing Elite CISO's website. So, quick introduction, just 1 minute introduction. I'm looking at the count. People are still pouring in. So, welcome everyone from wherever you are joining in. As you see on the screen, it says Elite CISOs for CISOs and by CISOs. So, we are a community of cybersecurity professionals based out of India. We have global membership. And what we try to do is we try to do collaboration and training and events, right? That's what we try to drive within our community. And when I say events, so if you go to events and if you look at past events, right? Since the lockdown, we have done multiple events. So if you go to this page, you will see that every single week since the lockdown started, we have been doing these webinars on different topics. So webinar is one thing which we do on the weekdays. Every Thursday, we conduct these webinars. And over the weekend, we have conducted multiple trainings and workshops. So the page full of events we have done, but I am most excited about the today's event, right? Guys, all the previous events were great. The speakers were phenomenal. We got great knowledge from all of them, but today's webinar, it's going to be really special because we have Richard Wright joining us from South Africa. And this webinar is kind of sponsored by Palo Alto. So thanks, Deepak, Palo Alto team, for sponsoring the gift, sponsoring the platform, and supporting us, right? And apart from it, the OWASP SeaSide team and Prashant, especially, thank you. Thanks a lot for the continued support because this is something very important for cybersecurity professionals. The topic that we are going to talk today, the technical topics we have been talking earlier as well, but during this difficult time of COVID-19 and all the pandemic which is happening, we need to take care of more important things as well, which are non-technical, right? So like mindfulness, power of mind, the previous webinars that we did. So continuing with that theme, today we have Richard Wright with us. And if you go to Richard Wright's website, which is immeasurable.com, and you can see, you can click on who is Richard Wright and you can see his bio. I'm not going to read it for you, but I started talking to Richard about the planning of this event and all, and I was fascinated. I was surprised the kind of journey Richard had, right? So, as you can see on the screen, Richard had 3 times stage 4 brain cancer, right? And during he was managing his cancer, he was doing something impossible, which is like world's toughest endurance events, which is like 6 Ironmans he had run during managing the cancer. I mean, phenomenal achievement because we do a lot of fitness. Elite CISO has got a dedicated fitness group, and if you run 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers, you are like dead, right? I mean, I cannot run more than that. And even if you fall sick, you have a little cold or little fever, and you are like, no, we do not want to go to office today. We are not feeling good. But look at Richard's journey. I mean, handling brain cancer and doing all these toughest events and running and doing swimming, cycling, it is phenomenal. What caught my eye is that he understands how to overcome literally anything, right? That is what we need because a lot of people are depressed during this COVID time. Now that is what we need. How do we overcome this kind of situation? So I'm not going to read all this. I will transfer it over to Rich without any further ado. And Rich, take it over, talk about your experience, and we are all ears. Thank you. So let me quickly stop sharing my screen so that you can share yours. Cool. Go ahead, please.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Let me get rid of my camera there. Because thank you so much for the most amazing introduction. Hello to everybody. What I have to say right from the beginning is there's a saying that says that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Well, I can tell you that I'm not in the wrong room because you are all a lot smarter than me. You all know stuff about cybersecurity and solutions and software and hardware and IT and computers and the cloud, and I know very little about that. So I'm gonna be sharing about something that I know something about, in the hopes that I can add some value to what you already know about, and then maybe you can jump on board and help me with my cybersecurity, which probably really sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here and hope that I'm going to land on the right place, because I'm not very good at IT. And there we go. Let's get that up, share it up. Great. So thank you very much for the gift of your time. I know it's in the evening where most of you are, although having a look to see where everybody else is dialed in from, we're scattered everywhere. And isn't it amazing that I can be in Johannesburg, South Africa, and be chatting to you mostly in your homes and where you are right now. So what I'm going to say, though, and here's the beauty about this platform, we're not sitting in an auditorium somewhere where, you know, it's just us and we're sitting there with a bunch of like-minded people. Wherever you are right now, if you have got other people in your home or people in your office and you think they might also benefit from hearing something that might change the way they think and help them to handle over this time, just call them over, gather them round, and the more the merrier. So please get the people in your home or office watching this as well. Then it becomes a shared experience. So just before we go further, our little company is called the Enrichment Project. Deborah, who's online as well, is my life partner and business partner. She's the CEO of the Enrichment Project. That stands for Chief Enrichment Officer. And together we make it our life's purpose to try and enrich the lives of other people. So if in gifting me your time this evening or wherever you are, might be morning, I can just give you something back in a way that's going to enrich your thinking, then I will be over the moon. So because it's virtual, it'd be quite nice to be able to interact with you. And we get to have a conversation that really it's just us here, right? We can ignore the other people. So I'm going to be popping up some questions, and I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just popping into the chat box like you did just now, and just popping the answers in there. And that way we get to interact. I get a bit of an idea of where you're at and how you're feeling, and it just becomes a little bit more valuable for all of us. So from time to time, you'll see a question come up. You might be feeling exactly like this right now, that life is getting you down, that this has been a tough time, that we've got no idea of where the finish line is. I think that's the hardest thing. And countries going back into hard lockdown, countries that are shorter lockdown, longer lockdown, nobody knows. Nobody's been to the other side of COVID-19 and can say, here's the handbook. If you just follow these instructions, you'll be fine. There's none of that. So at this moment in time, we're looking into the future. And what's quite interesting is that South Africa and India went into hard lockdown on the same day. And then we changed on the same day. And various things have happened. It's been a very, very similar trajectory. And some of our cities that have got higher numbers of people and where they live very close together have gone back into a hard lockdown. So it's been quite a similar journey. But we know that what's getting us down right now doesn't look like a rock. In fact, if you saw this picture about 10 months ago, you'd be like, oh, that's so cute and fuzzy. Can I touch it? We know right now that number one, you can't touch it because it's so small. And number two, it is not cute and fuzzy at all. In fact, I don't think there are many of us that haven't been impacted personally by a COVID story. Deborah's uncle passed away from COVID-19 a couple of months back, and attending his funeral over a virtual platform was really hard. It was tough to watch, and here's this service being televised or being streamed, and we weren't there, and it was hard. It was kind of a weird, very, very weird time. And I think we've all been impacted by this, and it's got a really ugly side to it. Our businesses have been impacted, our lives in terms of our freedoms of movements, what we do. And we've been impacted from our business. So to give you an idea, I've been doing professional speaking for a number of years, and last year was my golden year. It was amazing. Suddenly started to get booked up on the global stage, flying all over the place, giving talks. It was really great. Started to pay back some of the medical bills, and I'll tell you a bit about that just now. And then Deborah moved up, and we moved in together. We'd been doing a long distance relationship for about 2 years, and it was just so amazing. And then in the beginning of March, I went into remission for the third time, and it was such a celebration. It's been a hard 4-year journey, and so we're celebrating, and the gigs are looking good, and our calendars are getting booked up. And then the next minute we went into hard lockdown, and within 3 days every single email I received, every phone call I got, every message I got was somebody, an event organizer or a company, a corporate saying, we regret to inform you that the event has been canceled or postponed indefinitely. And within 3 days, we saw 100% of our future income disappear. It was wiped out. And we looked at each other and it was kind of, wow, how much more resilience do I have to show to the world? How much more resilience do I have to, how many times do I have to keep on getting up and then feel like I just get pushed down again? But it's like anything in life. You figure out what you need to do and you pick yourself up and you figure out how to move forward. And I'll tell you some of that story. And isn't this remarkable that 10 months later, here I am and I'm chatting to you and doing a virtual keynote to all of you and to your community. And that's been one of the gifts of this time, is that we're able to do this. So let's figure out how we can do it better. I didn't survive brain cancer just to survive brain cancer. I want my life to mean more. And what's the point in surviving just to survive? We need to thrive throughout this time. So how do we thrive? How do we pick ourselves up and not only survive, but thrive? I want you please to pop into the chat box and answer this question for me. How resilient are you feeling right now? So A, most resilient ever. B, it really depends on the day. Some days are good, some days are bad. And C, I'm hanging on by a thread. I'm going to pop across to the chat box so I can see what you're putting in there. Getting lots of B's, an A there. Thank you. Thank you. Really nice to know you all out there. It's hard just talking to myself. B's, A's, 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 B's, A's, B's. Fabulous. Keep them coming. Give you a little bit more time. What I'm going to do right now is just take a picture of the screen because I'm taking a picture of my audience, right? Remember those, you take audience photographs and it's like this. In fact, let's do it this way. How amazing is this? I want you all to please just shout and smile and say hi. Can you do that for me? Are you ready? So everybody smile and say hi. Oh, I'm on timer. Give me more time to say hi. Isn't that the worst participation ever? This time is so weird, hey? I remember the time when you're on stage and you do that little shot and it's such a cool feeling. I'm going to get my timer back and it's such a cool feeling and everybody's there smiling and waving because thank you very much for being that one person. So thank you very much. Okay, so we're getting highs. I'm going to score you a B. I'm going to give you a B there. I think that's the average answer. Now, what I do want to tell you is this, right? I think that it really just does depend on the day. There's sometimes throughout this pandemic where I've felt like I'm an A, I'm the most resilient ever. I've got a couple of gigs, I'm feeling good, things are great. And then the next day, it's the kind of, I hit this real downer and I feel like I'm hanging on by a thread. There've been times over the last 10 months, I've got genuinely depressed. I've really battled to get out of bed. There've been days that I've literally in the evening, got out of pajamas or out of the clothes I slept in the night before, showered, found some new clothes to sleep in, and went to bed. There've been days like that, but there've been some incredible days like today, where I get to do this and I share my story with you, and isn't that amazing? And if you're feeling that you're less than great, if you're hanging on by a thread, it's okay. I want you to know that you are normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You're completely human. We just need to figure out how to pick ourselves up again, how to dust ourselves off, how to take care of ourselves a little bit more, a bit of emotional well-being, because that's really where it all starts, is us taking care of our energy. So let's move forward. And I need to click onto the screen here. Right, so I want us to be able to bounce forward. There's a concept of we need to bounce back, bounce back. Why do you want to bounce back? Back doesn't exist. I want you literally to bounce forward. That's what you want to do. You see, right now, we are trapped in this space where we're battling to move forward. Why? Because we're holding on to the past. I bet you that you've been saying a lot, and you've heard it from people around you. When are we going to go back to normal? I just want normal back. Can you relate? Why do you want to go back? What is that normal? Why? I can tell you what it is. It's this idea of safety. It's the idea of certainty. It's the idea of comfort. What we really wanted to go back to is a place where we felt comfortable. We felt like we were in control. But was it really that fabulous? What was so good about your past that you want to rush back there? So I would caution you and say, think very carefully about what you really want to go back to before you go back. But remember, you can't go back because the past does not exist. The past is merely a memory. But now we're trapped in this place where we want to go back. We're scared about the future because that's unknown. So what is coming? What's going to happen with COVID? What's going to happen to my family? Am I going to get it if you haven't got it already? What's going to happen to the economy? What's going to happen to my career, the company that I work with, my brand, whatever that is? So because we're scared of that, because we want to go back to the past, it means we can't live in the present. And that's where your power lies. That's how to be resilient. That's how to have endurance, is the power of this moment, the now. And we're going to talk quite a lot about that. So bounce forward. And essentially what resilience is, in its most simple form, it's purely adapting to change. So resilience really is just adapting to change. I can see that the things are happening in the chat box, but I can't see the chat box. But Deborah is in the room. So have a look at the chat box. If you've got questions that you want to ask, please put them in the chat box. She can hold up a piece of paper and show me. Or I can talk to you at the end. There is going to be a question and answer little session at the end. So you can also keep your questions for the end. But just bear in mind that I can't actually read the chat box now. Deborah can, and she'll let me know if it's something that I can bring into what we're chatting about right now. So resilience is adapting to change. And it's our ability to adapt that really sets us apart. I believe that forced change is the best change. Why? So often we try and change things about our lives. Think about this quote for a second. Without change, you can have no future, only a recurring past. Without change, you can have no future, only a recurring past. In other words, if you keep on doing what you did yesterday, you don't have a tomorrow, do you? You just have yesterday all over again. You don't even have today. So if we want our lives to be different, if we want to be in a different place on this day next year, we need to behave differently. We need to do different things. And we want to do those things. We might want to stop smoking. We might want to lose a little bit of weight. We might want to enter an Ironman. We might want to, today, like Vikas said, 2.34 kilometers, and tomorrow you might want to do 5 kilometers. And the whole time we want him to get better. But we very seldom get to those goals. And you know why? Because we don't have to. True story. And when we are forced to change, then it's amazing how resilient we are. It's amazing how creative and inventive we are when we have to change. So the other part about change is we try and change our behavior. And our behavior is the end product. You see, our thoughts control our feelings and they control our truth and our reality, because that's really what perception is. Everything we do is really perception. What is truth? What is reality? In the cyberspace, of course, there's some finite things that there's science behind it and there's tech and we know it's finite. But when it comes to being human, what is truth other than our perception? You can tell me that this shirt is green. You can say, I see green. And I'll tell you, no, it's pink. And you're like, no, it's green. And I'm not going to be able to change your mind because that is your truth. That is your reality. And based on what we think becomes our reality is our truth, and that becomes our behavior. So if we want to change our actions or our behavior, what we really need to change is how we think. And that's what I would like to do this evening, is to try and just prod you a little bit, to just think slightly differently. Because if you can think slightly differently, everything will change for you. Isn't that amazing? We've got this fascination, this obsession with the past. And we make movies about it, blockbusters. If we could just go back to the past and change one thing, how different our lives would be. If I could go back to the past and have met that one woman, wow. If I could just not have met that one woman, how different my life would be. But what we fail to understand is that we wouldn't be in this place then. We wouldn't be who we are. And we've got that power of changing our entire life now. That if we just change one tiny little thing now, our entire future will be different. So what are those things that we can change? How can we think differently so we can put ourselves in a healthier place, in a better place, so that we can grow and thrive in the midst of an international pandemic? So if I had to ask you this question, what is your product? you would probably tell me about cybersecurity solutions. You would probably tell me about cybersecurity products. You would probably even tell me about your service that you offer. And I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to say, okay, that's something that people buy in from you, but why you? Why am I going to invest in you and in your product? Why am I going to invest in your service? And I can tell you that for most times, best solution, we can argue that. How many people have got the best solution? If I had to ask you right now, in the 174 people that are on this call, say, do you have the best solution? I bet you 174 people will be like, I've got the best solution. And I'm going to say, well, no, but he said, and she said that they've got the best solution. So, do you know, at the end of the day, and I think that's what's really brought, this pandemic has brought home for me, is that it's the human connection. I want to deal with people that I know, like, and trust. And if I know, like, and trust you, I will then want your product, those services. Essentially, you're the product. You are it. And that's why it's so important that we need to look after ourselves in this time, because if we're not looking after our own energy, what we're putting out there is less than. If we aren't the best version of ourselves, what are we giving to our children, our spouses, our partners, our colleagues, our clients, our customers, our communities? And that's why today is so special. It's all about community and looking after each other. And I really love that. I think it's the most amazing initiative, is that there's a whole entire community created around what you do and this common thread that you have. So you are the product. This calls for leadership of self. And if ever there was a time when you were being called upon to be a leader, it would be right now. Leaders in your communities. That's why we're doing what we're doing today. Leaders in your families, leaders in your workplace, leaders of self, because that's where it all starts. We can't lead anybody if we're not leading from within. And that's why that realization was so important to me at the beginning of this lockdown. My kids are looking towards me, my partner's looking towards me, my clients are looking towards me. And if I'm not looking after myself, if I'm not acting like a leader, and how does a leader act? That's a good question. What does leadership look like? So what happens very often is we focus on the obstacles. That's what we do. We get so good at focusing on all the reasons why life is bad, focusing on all the reasons why this pandemic is going to turn our lives upside down permanently, why we're never going to come back from this. Our economies are failing. We can't fly where we want to fly. We can't go and visit people that we want to go and visit. We've been stuck in this one city or one town. We can't even access the people that we love. All of these obstacles. So I'm going to tell you a story about obstacles. This is me. It's one of the events that I did over this journey. It's last year, June. And the only reason I'm there, and this is quite cool, there are a lot of us on this line that are connected by something. Can I tell you what that thing is? It's called the Indian Ocean. It laps up on our shores and it laps up on a lot of your shores. And that's the Indian Ocean behind me. It's black and inky and murky. You can't really see it because it's still dark. First thing in the morning. And this is Ironman 70.3. So it's a half Ironman event. It's in Durban, South Africa, which is on our east coast. And you have to rack your bicycle the day before the race, and the bicycles stay there overnight, and only the athletes have got access to the transition zone on the morning of the event. And so this is Deborah taking a photograph through the mesh fence, and I look nervous, and I look nervous for a reason. I'm about to go and do a half Ironman, and there's my bike with the green saddle, and you've got an opportunity to put your nutrition on the bicycle, your water bottles, you clip your shoes into the pedals, and you make sure that everything is ready so that when you come out of the water, you quickly get your cycling things, you run through there, you grab your bike, and off you go onto the route. From there, and the only reason I entered this event was because I was on live TV, a morning show in South Africa, and the presenter, and that was around about April last year, and the presenter said to me, "So Richard, what is your next event?" And because life had been pretty crappy, I didn't have one, but there's no ways that I was going to admit that on live TV. So my head was thinking, Durban 70.3, thinking that I had lots of time to train for this thing because I hadn't been training. And I got off the set, and the only thing I wanted to do was to see where the event was. And I realized I only had 6 to 7 weeks, which is nothing. 2 weeks before the event. So I entered anyway, and I did nothing. And 2 weeks before the event, I was in Port Elizabeth, also on the east coast of South Africa. And a friend of mine, Luvuyo, you can see him there, Livs and I went for a cycle that morning. And it was one of the first times I'd cycled that year. And we did 56 kilometers. And after that, I said, "Do you know what? If I can do 56 kilometers, I can do 90 kilometers. I'm going to go and do the event. And I messaged Deborah when I got off my bicycle and I say, hey, babe, I'm going to go and do it. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take me. I just need to get to the finish line. And there's something quite important about that, is how important it is that we just start somewhere and just see how we go, and that we don't hold ourselves back. But more about that later. So for those of you who don't know, a half Ironman is exactly half of a full Ironman. So the full Ironman is a 3.8 kilometers swim, and a half Ironman is a 1.9 kilometer swim. It's followed by a 90 kilometer bicycle ride, and in Durban it's quite hilly and undulating, and it's followed by a 21.1 kilometer run. It's a half marathon run, and that's exactly half of a full Ironman. And the name 70.3 comes from those silly people in the US who still haven't figured out that there's a metric system that's much better than their system, and it's miles. So if you add up the miles of the swim, the bike, and the run, put them together, it's 70.3. So it's just an American thing. But that's where the 70.3 comes along. So it's quite a lot, but it's an attainable distance. It's not like a full Ironman that just seems so big. So I kind of figured, okay, I can get through this. This is the morning in Durban, and there again is the Indian Ocean. Isn't that looking magnificent? And it was a beautiful day, but I couldn't really see the beauty in it because I was really, really filled with fear and anxiety, uncertainty, trepidation. It was a big thing I was about to do. And that's what the beach looks like. That's what 2,500 athletes look like at the start of an event. You can see there's no social distancing going on there, which is why we haven't had any of these events, clearly. So all of these athletes are feeling the same. They're feeling this knot in their stomachs. They're nervous. What is today going to hold? But the cool thing is that they've prepared, that they've spent months of training for this event so that they're ready for it. And most athletes, most middle of the pack, middle to good athletes, spend 6 to 9 months of training. And this is what their buildup looks like. They would have done about 4 swims every week of about 3 kilometers every swim, which is around about a whole bunch of swimming, right? And then 4 cycles per week, totaling around about 250 kilometers per week, around about 6,000 kilometers getting ready for a half Ironman. So you can imagine what some of the Ironman athletes do. They almost double the distances, which gets quite hectic. It can take over your life. And then 4 runs per week, a total of 45 kilometers, normally 45, 50. And that's around about 1,000 kilometers of running to get ready for this event. So that's a lot of training. So as much as they might feel that they're unsure about what the day is going to bring or how their bodies are going to respond, the confidence is in, I've done the training, I'm ready for this. I've tested my nutrition, I've tested everything, and I'm ready for this. This is what I look like on that beach. For me, it was different. For me, I wasn't standing there ready. For me, it was a really big thing. And the reason for that is because I was battling cancer for the 3rd time, a terminal prognosis of brain cancer. So there I am sitting on the beach, standing on the beach and thinking, am I even going to make it today? Am I going to get to see the finish line? What's going to happen? How's my body going to respond? More than anything else, from a physical point of view, I was worried about my body's inability to handle heat. I was worried about a potential heart attack from the stress in my body. But that's not all. You see, let me take you back to the beginning. 4 years before then, this is a picture after an Ironman event I did in 2016. And I'd been told about a month or 2 before then that I might have brain cancer. So that was the first time in my life. So 4 years before last year's event, or 3.5 years, I was told, Richard, you might have brain cancer. And I was due to complete a full Ironman. And I was so determined that I was going to do the Ironman, even though I was feeling sick and I was really battling to train. I was determined. And can I tell you why? And I think we all do this from time to time. I wanted to prove to myself that I didn't have brain cancer. You can't determine brain cancer from a blood test because of the blood-brain barrier. I was booked in for a lumbar puncture, but the lumbar puncture was 5 days after the event. I finished the Ironman. It wasn't a fancy time, but I finished. And at that moment, it was like, yes, I can't have brain cancer. And I Googled this cancer and found out that it's an extremely rare form of cancer. It's on the pituitary gland, which is in the middle of the brain. And the pituitary handles 7 major hormones in your body. So if the pituitary isn't working, you're not working, which is why I was battling to train. But I was convinced there's no ways. And then the other thing I found out is that not only is it an extremely rare form of cancer, but it's very, very aggressive. And what I read there filled me with dread and fear, and that if you've got this form of cancer, you're not going to live. People don't survive. There's no treatment for it. There are not enough people that get it. They can't do trial drugs. They can't study it. So essentially, if you've got that form of cancer, you're not going to make it. That's why it was so important to me that I crossed the finish line. So 5 days later, I went in for the lumbar puncture with my neurosurgeon. He was that worried that he'd arranged with the lab to rush the results through, and I had to wait around for 3 or 4 hours before the results came back. The results came back and he rushed me straight through into theater, and it was, Richard, you have got pituitary cancer. They went in through my nose. You might say, Richard, that looks like a nose op. It doesn't look like a brain operation. It's called transsphenoidal surgery. They go in through your nose, they drill into the brain, and they went to go and try and get this tumor out. And unfortunately, the tumor had already spread. And it was while I was having radiation about 6 weeks later that we found out that the cancer had already spread. And at that time, and that's my radiation mask, they literally bolt you to the bed so you can't move because they nuke the same spot every single day. I had 35 treatments at 7 weeks of radiation. It was excruciating. And at that time, I was called in to see the neurosurgeon, and I had to get hold of an oncologist, and I was told, Richard, by best guess, we think you have 6 months to live. To explain what goes through your mind when somebody tells you that your time on this planet has got a finite date, that you can take out your phone or your laptop or find a calendar and take a pen and put a cross over a number on a month, and that is your last day. How do you respond? And it's almost impossible to explain to you how you respond. And I think it's different for everybody. I got angry. I got so angry at the person looking at me, my neurosurgeon. How dare you tell me I'm average? How dare you? Because this is how you get to how many months I've got by the average lifespan of somebody who has this. But who are those people? Did they just do an Ironman event? Who are they? What is their attitude towards life? How dare you tell me that you know when my end date is? And then you have to come to terms with it and come to grips with it. And it's almost impossible not to feel like a victim. And you know how that feels, because we are all feeling like we are victims right now of coronavirus. Even if we don't have the virus, we still feel like we're victims of it. Why? Because our lives have been so severely disrupted, and because we can't control any of it. This thing that we can't even see has turned our lives upside down, just like brain cancer. This little thing in my head that I can't even see. It's in my head and I can't see it. But yet my entire life has been turned upside down. And in many ways, I still feel healthy and normal, just like you. In this pandemic, you don't have coronavirus. You're locked up in your house. You can't drive to places. You can't do things. But you're feeling healthy. Why are we locking up the healthy people? And it takes a while to get out of that place of feeling like a victim. But at some point in time, it's really important. That year in August, I managed to go into remission for the first time. I was the 118th person on this planet ever to survive a primary pituitary carcinoma. It was that big. I celebrated huge. It was like, yes, see, take that cancer. Iron Man, 1 cancer, none. It was big. But the cancer came back. And then I beat it again, and the cancer came back. And so for the 3rd time, there I was on the beach, wanting to get to the finish line of this half Ironman event. Ironman is something that was in my blood. It was something I was really good at before the cancer. Back in 2007, 10 years before the cancer, my best position is 16th overall, African Ironman, African champs, first age group athletes, first amateur athlete across the line, beating a whole lot of professionals at the same time. My time was remarkable. I was at the top of the pinnacle of amateur Ironman athletes in the world. It was amazing, and something I earned a slot for world champs, and something that I did a number of times. So it's something I was good at. But at this point in time, there I was on the beach, in the 6 months training that I had. Now remember what the other athletes did? This is my training for the same event, right? 1 swim of 1.5 kilometers, only 4 days before the event. And I just went to the gym around the corner from me here, and I was just kind of, if I can get my arms over, do they still work? Can I still swim? I just want to make sure that I can still swim. Okay, can I do 1.5 Ks? Okay, I'm sure I can do 1.9 Ks, just to make sure that I could still swim. My cycle training for the 6 months leading up to this event, 4 cycles. In the 2 weeks leading up to the event, that one cycle of 56 Ks with Luvuyo. And on the bike there, that was the 4th cycle. It was the day before the race. It was on the patio of the people's home that we were staying in, friends of ours. And I thought, just put another half an hour in on the bike the day before the race. 4 cycles, that was it. Training for a 90-kilometer ride in the middle of a half Ironman. And my run was even worse. 2 runs in the week of the race. The longest run I did was 6 Ks. So to say that I was standing on that beach feeling hideously underprepared, feeling undercooked and really worried for the first time in my cancer journey. You heard earlier that I'd done 6 full Ironman events with brain cancer up until this point. I've done a couple of ultra endurance mountain bike races, stage races, a bunch of other half Ironman races, but this was the only race I did last year because things were so bad. And for the first time, I thought, I'm actually not going to make it to the finish line. See, these were my obstacles, but wait, there's more. Earlier in the year in February, I was on a trial chemotherapy drug from Israel, and it just knocked me completely and caused a whole bunch of damage. And part of that damage was a brain bleed. And I suffered some seizures, and I wasn't allowed to drive, and I wasn't allowed to train. And that's part of the reason why I didn't do any training. And then I was battling to breathe. And the doctors were pretty convinced that the cancer had already spread to my lungs. And so I was sent for a bronchoscopy earlier last year. And we found out that it was actually pulmonary toxicity from the chemotherapy, that this chemotherapy was really destroying my body. And I had these nodules on my lungs. No wonder I couldn't breathe. So here I am in the start line. And all I can think about are these obstacles. All I can think about is the brain cancer. All I can think about is the brain bleeds and the toxicity and the lungs and not being able to do any training. And the problem is when we focus on those obstacles, we can't see the finish line. When we focus on the obstacles, our brains are so focused on this thing that we attract what we think. And when we think about those obstacles, we're going to get more. When you worry about the economy is going to worry you. That's how it works. All I can think about with these obstacles. And you might say, Richard, what on earth were you doing on that start line? What are you thinking, my brother? And I'm going to say, that's why. My 2 little girls. You see, I don't fear dying. Throughout this entire cancer journey, death, the idea of dying doesn't scare me. I don't fear it. It's just a change in your living circumstances and you're no longer living. But what I do fear more than anything else is leaving my 2 little girls without their dad. I've been divorced for about 10 years and we share the children. And for most of my journey, I was a single father with these kids when they were with me. And this feeling of we're 2 very different parents and we bring different things to the party, and leaving my two girls without their dad. And that's reason enough to want to do everything possible to beat the brain cancer. And every time I got to the finish line, I was proving to my 2 little girls that their dad was going to be fine. That was important for me. So there I was on the beach, feeling like a victim. And you know that victimhood is about negativity. It's about fear. It's about doubt and past and expectation. That expectations of things. That's big victimhood. I expect more than what I get. And then when I don't get it, I'm like, oh, woe is me, pity party. It's like that. Our past right now is big victimhood. I just want to go back to the past. If I could just be the athlete I used to be, if I could just be this winning athlete, this high performance elite athlete, I wouldn't be feeling like this. But I've got to accept that this is who I am and this is where I am. I can't be negative. I can't have the fear of what's going to happen. And the biggest fear we have right now is the fear of the unknown. How do we deal with that? I can tell you how we deal with that. But before we go any further, how do you rate your ability to adapt? Are you adapting like a pro? Are you adapting slower than you would like? Or do you just want normal back? And if you're honest and tell me that you just want normal back, I totally get it. And you are completely, totally human. So we've got a lot of 1s, we've got some 2s, we've got some 3s. It's a real mixed bag. Put your answers in there. Sorry, let's go back a slide. Are you adapting like a pro, slower than I would like, or just want normal back? Which one there? So lots of 2s, we've got some 1s, 1 with a smile. Because thank you very much for the smile. Durga is a 2. Okay, keep them coming, keep them coming. And 44 new messages. Oh my goodness, because I've taken my finger off here. Okay, let's go down, have a look. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. Thank you for being honest at 3. 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2. I dig that. Yeah, we are. That's exactly what's happening. Hey, it's really hard to stay consistent. Great. Keep it coming. Thank you very much. Thanks for your honesty. And you know, if you're feeling like you're a 3, sometimes when we admit that, that's the first step to changing things, is to admit that we're feeling crappy, to admit that we're feeling a bit depressed, to admit that we're feeling like this thing is getting on top of us. When we admit that, we free ourselves up to doing something about that. But when we avoid that and deny it, and oh, I'm feeling fine, we're telling ourselves that story on the outside, but the inside knows that that is a lie. So we're not helping ourselves at all. In fact, we are making it worse. So if you're honest enough to admit that to yourself, that's the first step to recovery. So let's move forward. I've got to tap my screen. So let's have a look at the solutions, because how do we get to this place and how do we move forward to the finish line? So what I can tell you is that the thinking that got you here cannot be the thinking that gets you to the finish line. Why? Because it's all changed. And because our circumstances and our situation has changed, that means that we need to change how we think. We can't think like we used to think before COVID-19 because we're not in that place. Do you see why it's so important that we need to look after the now and figure out what this now is, the present time? How do we need to think today to move ourselves forward into tomorrow so that we don't stay in yesterday? Do you get how important that is? The thinking that brought you here cannot be the thinking that takes you into the future. You need to think differently. And what you really need to think about is what you decide to choose to think. So have a look at this picture there. Don't you dig this guy? Isn't he amazing? Look at those eyes. Those are big, badass eyes. And he's blinking. He's blinking. And the word there says blink. And the concept is, why do we blink so frequently? And right now, whether you're like, Richard, I know where you're going with this. I'm not going to blink. I'm going to outstay you, or good luck, because then I can outstay even my children and they're really good. Or if now you're blinking more because now you're blinking, you're thinking about blinking, it doesn't matter which one, you are thinking about blinking. Here's something interesting. Your brain has been aware of the fact that you've been blinking since you got up this morning. It's the first thing you did. You open your eyes and you blink them again. Why? Because you need to clean them off, and because they're stuck together and they're dry, and you need to moisten them and lubricate them and get them moving. Your brain has been aware of every single time that you've blinked since you got up this morning, yet you haven't told it to think about it. So it's thinking about it subconsciously, but you didn't tell it to consciously think about blinking. But now I'm telling you to consciously think about blinking, and it's all you can think about is blinking while blinking. How easy is it for our brains to be manipulated? How easy. Whatever you choose to put in there, you are going to get more of. If you want to look after your mental health, your emotional well-being, if you want to be in a different place, if you want to change your environment, your circumstances, how you feel, you need to control the thoughts that you're putting into your brain. So mindset really does matter. And what I said to you, what you think determines your reality, your perceptions or your reality. Your reality is your truth is your actions. Choose very carefully what you put in there, because your brain is the most sophisticated filtration system on this planet. Whatever you put in there, your brain goes to work at filtering out all the evidence that disproves the thought that you put in there. It's a confirmation bias is what that is. And it filters in all the things that confirm your thinking. But it's not the truth. It's just what you decided to think. You could say, I already think the economy is bad right now, and we should be battening down the hatches and not spending any money. That's risk. I want to be risk adverse, right? Okay, you put that thought into your brain. Now your brain goes to work at finding all the reasons why that's true and say, come in, come in, come in. And filtering out all the reasons that say, no, that's something you read in the newspaper. Who wrote that? Where does that come from? Whose opinion is that? What were they looking at? You get to decide for yourself, and that's the important thing. Nobody gets to tell me how I respond to brain cancer because of the way somebody else responded to brain cancer. Every person responds a different way. Every person responds a different way to the treatment. I get to decide for me based on how I feel. You get to decide for you based on what you feel, what you know, what is your reality and your truth. Not anybody else's, not somebody else's opinion. We need to act as if we're not going back. And in a triathlon, this is so important because when I finish the bicycle, I've got to act as if I'm not going back. I've got to leave the bicycle. I've got to take my helmet off and put it down. I've got to take my cycling shoes off and put them down and go and find my running shoes and go the other way. Act as if I'm never going back. And if I ran the half marathon with a bicycle, you look at me like, what are you doing, Richard? I mean, like, I might need it. Because that's how we think. I might need it. I might need it. I don't want to let go. You have to let go. Because until you can let go of the things that no longer serve you, you're weighed down by your past. And you can't be freed up to become everything you can become, your potential, the possibilities. You know, the possibilities that exist in the chaos are unbelievable, the opportunities and possibilities. But when we're looking at the wrong things, the stuff that no longer serves you, we can't see them. Act as if you're not going back. So the question I want to ask you is, are you fearlessly challenging your fixed beliefs and assumptions? That's the Flat Earth Society. There are people, hopefully none of you that are on this call because you guys are scientists, you get clever stuff. There are people that believe that the Earth is flat. And I want to know, with all the social distancing and 1.5 meters apart, did we like shove a couple of people off the edge of the Earth? I don't know. Think about this. 10 months ago, if you'd come to me and said, Richard, I want you to go to India and I want you to go and present to 174 people, I'd be like, sure, what time do I leave? Where is the plane? And then you say, no, you're going to be looking into a little light on your laptop, and you're going to look at that little green light, and there are going to be 174 people looking back at you, and you're not going to leave your home in Johannesburg, and you're going to do it on your laptop. I'd be like, are you stupid? Why would I do that? I can just go and talk to them. And then you say to me, it's actually quite a powerful thing to do. It's amazing. You can get a message across. You can present your presentation. And now look. I've been forced to think differently and to confront my fixed beliefs and assumptions about what is possible and what is not possible. Maybe this is your time to do the same thing. But you have to start. You just have to start. And can I tell you something? This is really important. A DNS is worse than a DNF. What is a DNF? A DNF is a did not finish. When we look at the results of any major athletic event, there's the man or the woman that won the event. There are times that go down, and right at the bottom are a bunch of names with no time and some letters. And the first letters we see are DNF. These are people that started the race and for whatever reason did not finish. There's no shame in that. They gave it their best attempt, but they started, they showed up, they pitched at the start line saying, I will give it my best. I'm not scared of failure. I don't want to, I'm not scared of it. And then right at the bottom are a bunch of people with the DNS next to it. Did not start. Those are people that paid their $550 US dollars for an Ironman and didn't get to the start line. Can I tell you why? For most people, it was, I didn't put enough preparation in. I didn't get to do the training I was hoping to do, so I'm not going to get the results I wanted to get. Do you see how we are victims of our expectation? My expectation is that's the result I want to get. If I'm not going to get the result, I'm not going to do it. That is dangerous. Every time we commit to starting something and we don't do it, we make it harder for ourselves to start the next time. We make it harder for ourselves to actually pitch up in that start line. If you want to change anything in your life, if you want to be in a better place, just start. So that's the start line of an Ironman. And these athletes all race at the water. And you can have two responses here. The one response is a fear response. And the fear response is, I must swim as fast as I can because I need to get out of here. I need to get some space in the water. I'm worried about somebody hitting my head, ripping my goggles off, pulling my leg back. And I need to, and then that, it's like that. And your heart rate goes redlining. That's a terrible response. That's our response to a large extent through this pandemic, isn't it? A fear response. There's another response that says, I just need to focus on that boy, the first boy in the water. It's 300 meters away from the beach. I just need to focus on that. I'd like to suggest that this picture represents your current worldview. There's your competition in the water. Can you control your competition? Can you control what they're doing in terms of their cybersecurity products and the clients they've got and you know how they're hosting things and what they're doing? No, you can't. Can you focus on, or can you control the water, which is the market that you're working in, the government decisions, the economy? Can you change any of that stuff? Control it? No, you can't. Can you control the weather? I can't control the current. I can't control the temperature of the sea. The only thing I can control is me. The only thing in life I've got 100% control over are the thoughts in my head. That's how I beat brain cancer. That's how I get through an Ironman. How do I use my thoughts to serve me? So I start saying things. I talk under the water all the time. Push forward and glide, breathe, pull. What does my pool look like under the water? Are my hands equidistant? Am I sighting every now and again to make sure I'm swimming the shortest possible route to that buoy? I don't want to go and waste time and waste energy. I'm controlling me by my actions. My thoughts are focusing on my actions, but the thoughts, actions, so not actions, thoughts. Think about that. I think first, actions follow. What are the things that you should be focusing on right now? Do you know, I had an amazing swim, because here's the cool thing. The minute we start something, all those obstacles go out of the window because we are so focused on the goal. And when we break those goals down, we can't see the finish line. It's not like an Ironman where I know where it is. COVID isn't like that. You don't know where the finish line is. But if you just keep moving forward, if you just keep on focusing on this little goal, this little goal, this little goal, this little goal, you'll be in a different place tomorrow, next month, next year. You'll be moving forward. You'll not be sitting there floating, treading water, wanting to go back. Can I just go back to the beach? Going back to the beach isn't going to help you because the finish line isn't that way. So I was coming out of the water and this big wave came out of nowhere. And you see that thing at the top of the wave? That's me. Someone managed to catch that. This wave pulled me back, grabbed my shoulder, and I realized too late. And I tried to push forward and to surf the wave, and I didn't make it. And this wave pulled me back with the shoulder, flipped my body over, and all I saw was the sand at the bottom, and I knew I was going to hit the sand. And the wave slammed my face into the sand, and my goggles hit my face and split open my nose, and my lip was dragged along the sand, and that little piece of skin that's in there, that was gone. And my cap was ripped off my head, and my timing belt was ripped off it was Velcro to my ankle, that was gone. And then I heard this under the water, and I felt this excruciating pain. It's the worst pain I've felt in my life. In that moment, I didn't know how to even handle myself. And I know I shouldn't compare, but you know how they say the worst pain is when you childbirth. Ladies, this pain was worse. Okay, I'm kidding. There's no pain worse than childbirth. But if childbirth this was a 10 out of 10 pain, childbirth is a 10.5 out of 10. That's what it was. Wow, it was sore. And now I'm being whipped around by the water and it's shoulder, and I'm thinking, what is wrong? What is wrong? What is this? I've never felt this before. And gradually I managed to feel the sand and managed to stand up, and all I wanted to know was what is damaged. And I looked down at my arms, and my arm should have been down next to my body, and it was at this angle, and I couldn't see my shoulder. I was like, oh, what is this? And I'm going to try and tell the story quickly. The paramedics came, they took me to the vehicle on the beach, and the doctor came to look at me, and he took one look and he said, you've got a dislocated shoulder. And I said, no, I can't believe that. I need to get to the finish line. I didn't come this far just to come this far. I need to finish. This thing means so much to me. And he said, you're not going anywhere. And then one of the race referees came up, and this is the photograph that she took. She took this photograph and she said, we're going to DNS you. We're going to DNS you. DNF you, did not finish. I'm like, no, let's try and sort this out first. And then the doctor wanted to take my wetsuit off. And I was like, no. I will die in this wetsuit. Just imagining the pain of trying to get this thing off. Those wetsuits are so tight. And I got this arm off, and he was trying to pull the other arm off, and now my arm, I can't pull back with my arm. So as he's trying to pull the wetsuit, I'm trying to pull my arm back, but I can't. And I grab my hand and I'm pulling back, but I'm pulling back in the wetsuit, and he's trying to get the wetsuit. And in this movement, my shoulder popped back in. I was like, wow, and it was still really, really sore. And then the nurse came across, and she wanted to do debridement, and they wanted to stitch my nose. And gradually I said, you know what, I think I'm okay. Can you just give me some pain medication? And the doctor laughed, and he said, no, if you stop now, you can have all the pain meds you want. There's a vehicle behind you, help yourself. But if you want to continue, I can't give you anything. I was like, wow, that's not what I wanted to hear. I said, fine, I'm in. And I got hold of the race referee and said, put me back in this race. And then I had to run up the beach, and now my wetsuit's off, and Deborah's been looking for me, and there's a timing app, and she doesn't know where I am, and I'm taking way too long for the swim because she knows how long I'd normally swim it in. She's really worried. I ran past her. She says, what's wrong? And there's blood coming out of my nose and my lip. And I said, no, I got a dislocated shoulder, but I'm fine. And off I went. And then I had to argue to get another timing chip, because if you don't have a timing chip, you don't get a finish time. If you don't get a finish time, you don't get a medal, and you're not finished. There's no ways I'm doing this event without an official finish. So now I have to persuade them to give me a timing chip. I go off to get my bicycle things, and I get my bicycle things, and then I run off down one of the longest transition zones in the history of Ironman. It is 1.4 kilometers from one side to the other, because there are only 2 lines of bicycles all the way, 2,700 athletes, because they're team athletes as well. And I run all the way down to where my number is, 2763. I'll never forget that number. And I look down at 2763, and guess what? My bike is gone. Thinking, how, what? Maybe I got hit on the head. And I looked down at my race number that's on my arm, 2763, 2763. Oh my goodness, it's the right number. My bike is gone. Now I don't know what to do. And I ran all the way to the end of the chute where I'm supposed to go out, and I find a race referee there, and I say, my bike's gone, can you help me? She's like, I don't know. And I said, well, help. And she says, well, maybe one of your friends took it. And I was like, that's never going to happen. Your bike is measured for you, and you train on it, and your nutrition is on it, and your bottles are on it, and your cycling shoes are on it, and nobody's going to take somebody else's bike. And the spectator next to her turns to me and just laughs, and he says, well, they're probably not your friends anymore, are they? I was like, well, you are not helping. I said to her, what do I do? She said, I need you to run all the way back to the other end of the chute. Go back to the people there, and they can help you. I'm like, another 1.4 kilometers. Yes, off you go. So now I'm running back, and there's blood coming out, and I'm running the wrong way, and all these people with their bicycles, and a lot of them even recognize me, and they're, Richard, what's wrong? Like, my bike's gone. Are you bleeding? I'm like, I know. And finally, I find this race referee, and I said to her, my bike. And she looks at her phone, and she says, no, but you were DNF'd on the beach. And when you were DNF'd, we took your bike, and we got it out of the way. I said, well, put me back in the race. She said, sure. I said, where's my bike? She pointed to where my bike was. At this point in time, you're probably thinking, Rich, dude, the universe is trying to tell you something. Maybe this isn't your day. But when you want something so badly, when you want to be in a different place, when you need something so much, you don't take no for an answer. You figure out what you need to do, and you keep pushing forward. You need to figure out how much it means to you to be in a different place. How much it means to you to be out of this place you're in right now. Tap into that. That is called the power of purpose. So I got into the bike. I made it through the cycle. I couldn't use my time trial bars because the pain in my shoulder was too much, but I finished. And there's Bailey, my youngest daughter. High five, Dad. And all I want to go is high five. I'm finished. Yay. And I was so relieved to be off the bike, but the run was the worst part, because every single time, whether I walked, whether I ran, just putting my weight down and jolted my shoulder, it was so excruciatingly painful. And I would run until I couldn't handle the pain anymore. And then I had to walk and try and get my breath back and try and just move forward, one step. And that's how we get out of where we are right now. It's just little movements, one step after the other. That's it. And finally, I got to the finish line, and I was given a medal. And look at that look. And I went to the medical tent afterwards, and the doctor who was on the beach came up to me, and he looked at me, and he said, you the guy who was on the beach with the dislocated shoulder? I said, yes. He said, that's a medal. Is that your medal? I was like, for sure, it's my medal. And he said, there's no ways they even thought that you get to the cycle. You don't get a medal. You must be a little bit crazy. I said, I'm not crazy. It just means that much. And then I went back to Johannesburg with Bailey, and for about a month after that, the pain just wouldn't go. And at times it felt like it was getting worse. And I thought to myself, Rich, don't be such a wimp. Don't be a crybaby. It's just a dislocated shoulder. It just needs time. There's no real way to fix this thing. And then finally, I made an appointment with a surgeon in Johannesburg. And then I canceled a couple of days before, because I thought, no, come on, Richard. Come on, man. Don't be this baby. And then it just wasn't getting better. And I made another appointment, and he looked at me and he tested me, and he said, I'm pretty sure, 99% sure that it's just a dislocation. You're going to be okay. But because you're a swimmer, let's just make sure. Would you mind going for an x-ray? And I said, yeah, sure, let's go. And I waited there, and the results came back, and he called me into his office, and he was there with a colleague, and they were laughing. They were laughing, and they were pointing at the screen, and that's what they were pointing at. He said to me, the top of your humerus, it looks like it's a ping pong ball, and somebody's taken their thumb and shoved their thumb into the ping pong ball. He said, that's not a dislocated shoulder. That's a broken shoulder. The top of your humerus is crashed. And then he looked at me and he said, you did a 70.3 with that shoulder. And I said, yes. And he said, you must be a little bit crazy, right? And I said, no, I'm not. And if you think that I am different to you, you are wrong. We all have resilience. We all have tenacity. You learn to walk. You're a resilience machine. Why? Because when you learned to walk, you fell down how many times? And each time you fell down, it was sore, and you bashed your head, and you bashed this, and you cried, and your parents applauded your failure. I said, well done, Rich. You took one step further than last time. Woo! No, but I failed. No, you're getting there. And then at some point in time, our parents taught us that failure is bad. And they stopped applauding our failures. And then we stopped learning how to be resilient, because you can only be resilient if you keep on trying and failing and trying and learning and repeating and learning and learning and learning. That's how we become more resilient. So I need you to take some risks to move forward. I need you to fall down a bit. I need you to get out of this place we are right now. Learn to walk and walk to run and run to fly. That's what I want for you. Mark Twain said, I've suffered some terrible things in my life, some of which have actually happened. I've suffered some terrible things in my life, some of which have actually happened. How many of the things that you're worried about right now, how many of the fears that you have right now about where you are, about the future, about your family, about your children, about your parents, about your job, about the economy, about whatever it is, how many of those fears are actually going to happen? Because most times our fears are just that, fears. It's not reality. So we need to figure out how we move forward by controlling our thinking. I need you to know that anything is possible. This is the first Ironman I did with stage 4 brain cancer. I did a 10 hour 20. It put me in the top 9% of all the people that finished that day. Again, I'd hardly trained. I had a TV crew that followed me around that day. Just my face, I was in tears. I've crossed the finish line and my girls put the middle of my neck, and I was in pieces. This incredibly triumphant moment of, if I can do this, if I can do this. My body gave up so long ago, and my head was just, we are not stopping. We are not failing. We are getting to the finish line. If I can do that, we can do anything. You just need to want it badly enough. So if I had to ask you, which resilience is most important, what would you say? The physical resilience, the mental, or the emotional? Well, I can tell you an answer. If you'd like to answer, go ahead and answer. Let's have a look and see what you say. Threes, 1, 2, or all. Threes, twos, threes, mental, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, a lot of people are saying mental, probably more mental than anything else, 1 and 2. Okay, so you know what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you that emotional resilience is the most important. Let's go back to what I said in the beginning. Click on my screen. Is emotional wellness impacts on everything. How you're feeling impacts on everything. If you're having a bad day, it impacts everything. If you wake up in a bad mood, it impacts on everything. If you don't sleep during the night, it impacts on everything. How you feel emotionally impacts on every single thing else. It's very hard to be mentally resilient if you're emotionally drained. It's very hard to be physically resilient if you're emotionally drained. Now, mental resilience runs off our emotional resilience. And that emotional resilience is often how much I want it. And it's looking after yourself, and it's self-care. Our emotions impact our resilience. So we need to look after that emotional well-being. It's so important because you are the CEO of you. You are the chief energy officer of you, and energy is more contagious than the virus itself, which is why we need to look after our energy, which is emotional well-being. Everything starts from there. Your ability to tackle anything starts with how emotionally together you are feeling. So what is your self-care plan? How are you looking after yourself? How are you making sure that you're going to get to the finish line? Because if you're not looking after yourself, it's that same story. Remember those days when we used to be able to fly, and then the flight attendant said to us before we took off, in the event of an emergency, and we crash land and there's oxygen that falls down from the ceiling, put it on yourself first before you put it on the people around you and help them. If you don't help yourself, you can't help other people, which is why we need to look after our emotional well-being, our self-care, and make sure that we're in a good place, so that we can impact on other people around us. And I'm finishing off now. I know I've run out of time. So whatever that self-care plan looks for you, and for me, it's about movement. It's about exercise. For me, it's about writing stuff down, journaling, getting the thoughts out of your head. Get the thoughts out of your head. Your brain needs to feel heard. That's me saying to you earlier, admitting that you're having a tough time is the first step. And sometimes when we write it down, your brain feels heard. Write things down. I'm just going to give you 8 of these tips. Start small. Nothing Nothing substantial in this planet was accomplished because it was big in the beginning. Never. Start small. If you're wanting to change habits, change things, start small. Walk around the block, then walk around half the block, then walk around at 2/3 of the block, and gradually build up, and then 2 blocks, and start small and build outwards. Don't set yourself up for failure because you're trying things that are too big. Just start small. Small little wins every single day become big. Same thing repeated every single day. It's that fabulous word called accretion. Little things that become big things. Number 3, write it off. When you have a less than great day, write it off. Don't carry that day into tomorrow. When you're expecting to do something today and you didn't get to do it, write it off. Unless it's really important, then write it into tomorrow, then write it down into tomorrow. But manage your energy, manage your time, manage your expectations, and you'll find that you're in a much healthier place. Number 4, rewards, breaks, and treats. Right now, it's tough. We are battling. So try and make it easier for yourself. If you have 4 good days during the week, have a great day on Friday and let your hair down. Maybe celebrate in the weekend. Do what are those little things that you can reward yourself? Ladies love to shop. And maybe as well, if I can just do this thing, and if I can, have a great couple of days or a month, well, then I'm going to go online shopping. I don't know what that looks like for you, but what are those rewards? That's important. It just helps us to get somewhere. The week after an Ironman, I let myself go because I've been so focused and really good about what I'm eating and sleeping and doing and not doing. And then you cross the finish line. And after that, man, I need to have a bit of a good time. Why? Because I need some reward. This thing was hard. Number 5, eat. Eat. Do you know that's the most important thing you could do? Because if you're not eating, it's energy and emotional gain. Think about this. That's where hungry comes from. I'm hungry and angry. Why? Because I'm hungry. You can't teach a kid who's hungry. Why? Because that emotional state, it's the lowest form of hierarchy of needs, is I need to eat. So there's no excuse like my day was too busy, I didn't pack something in. No, think ahead, plan, control your life. Eating is incredibly important. What you eat, when you eat. And when you don't eat enough, and when you're not planning, then we eat rubbish, or then you're tired all the time, and then you are not a great human being because now you are hungry. So that's self-care. 6, swallow that frog. What are the things you're avoiding? What are the things you don't want to do? The concept is, if you had to swallow a live frog every single day of your life, when would you do it? Last thing before you go to bed? Imagine what your day looks like. The whole day, you've got this thing hanging over you. This thing you have to do anyway. You don't want to do it, but you're putting it off. Because you're putting it off, you're not doing what you should be doing. And the concept is, identify the worst thing you have to do today first. Get it done and free yourself up. Swallow that frog. See, looking after yourself is intentional. Looking after yourself is taking control of all the things in your life that you can control, and letting go of the things that you can't. Routine. Routine is so important, knowing what you're going to do, mixing up the routine, just having an idea of what you want to accomplish. And that's saying, I need my thinking to influence my doing. That's Richard in the Water saying, push forward, glide, breathe, pull down in a straight line. That routine, think. What are the thoughts going to serve? And then lastly, avoiding distractions. I'm bad at that. I've got a short attention span. I think I'm ADD, I'm pretty sure. It's like getting to do something. And for me, if my phone is out of the room, I'm winning. Just what are those things that distract me? And again, it's controlling the expectations. With lockdown, homeschooling my kids, saying, Dad, I can't help you at this time because I'm talking in India. I can help you at that time, and I can help you with your maths homework at that time. I'm kidding. I never help with maths homework. I told you I'm not the smartest person in the room. So what would make you happy? What is that? And that's important stuff, because happiness is a feeling. It's not a finish line. And you know what I discovered with Deborah is that happiness is now. Happiness is now. I discovered in the cancer where I didn't have to survive cancer to be happy. You don't have to survive COVID-19 to be happy. Identify the things that make you feel happy right now. Even in the times when I really felt that I was not going to survive brain cancer, just to wake up in my house and my girls were in my home with me, that's what happiness feels like. To wake them up, to kiss them in the ear and say, I love you. That warm, snuggly feeling. That's what happiness feels like. If you want to be in a different place, if you want to change your life, if you want to look after your energy, if you want some self-help, guidance, wellness, whatever that is for you, figure out what makes you feel happy and chase that stuff. So I'm going to skip these 2 things and I'm going to end on this. So here's your action plan. I want to send you back out into the community with an action plan. It's such a simple thing to do, but I want you to identify 10 things to stop doing right now. Identify 10 things to keep going. Remember, we want to move from this place of the past to where we are now, to move into this future, to create a different future. How do we do that? We let go of the things. We stop doing things that don't serve us. We keep doing things that do serve us, and we figure out what are these new things we need to do, that we need to start doing to be in a better place tomorrow. So if you just do that, your life will change. So I want to say thank you so, so much for hosting me. Thank you for your time. I went over by a couple of minutes. I'm sorry. Hope it's not too late there. Please connect with me. If you'd like to book me for any of your events with your organizations, please, please, please. It's the best way that you could repay me for anything. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being online. Because thank you to you and for EliteCISOs for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing session, Rich. Amazing session. I mean, I've seen some good sessions, but this is like phenomenal. Really excellent session. So there are a lot of people already registering for Ironman in our fitness group. So I'm not sure whether they can do it or not, but they are talking about it. Great, great.
So whether they think they can do it or whether they think they can't do it, they're 100% correct.
Absolutely. And it is, they're talking in 2021, first half, there's an Ironman in Delhi or something, and they are registering for it. So that's phenomenal. There are a lot of questions.
Brilliant.
I want to ask two questions. What is the secret of your energy and what do you eat? I mean, where do you get that energy?
Okay, thank you. So secret of energy is, so a lot of people say, Richard, how do you stay so positive? And I want to say straight off the back that I'm not the world's most positive person. There are days when I've told you, there are days when I've been really depressed over this time and negative and I'm battling. But what I am is one of the world's most radically optimistic human beings. And being positive and being optimistic are two different things. You see, optimism is about my ability to affect a future, to be able to handle whatever comes my way and be in a better place, right? That's optimism. Positive is just, I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling good. It's impossible to feel like that every single day. But you've got a proven track record. You're a magnificent survivor of everything that you've ever survived in your life. If you are still married right now, throughout lockdown, you're a magnificent survivor of lockdown marriage. Amazing. If you're divorced and you not only survived the marriage, you're surviving a divorce. If your house is financed, if your car is financed, you're a survivor of debt. You're a survivor of every heartbreak, every paper cut, every illness. You are already that. And why would you not be optimistic about your ability to survive whatever it is that's coming? It's that mindset. So for me, it's just trying to think about things a little bit differently. And it's trying to figure out, again, what can I control and what can't I? And if I'm feeling negative, what can I do to affect a different outcome? So that was the first question. And the second thing is, what do you eat? So throughout this cancer journey, there have been times when I've become obsessive about what I eat and what I don't eat, and cutting out things and focusing on things, and keto diets and anti-carcinogens diets, anti-cancer diets. And what I've learned is, more than anything in life, it's a balance, and you can't be obsessed all the time. And I know what foods make me feel good, and I know what foods make me feel bad. And I try and focus on the foods that make me feel good. So generally we eat really healthily because we like eating healthily. But I don't mind having a McDonald's burger from time to time either. You know, it's just that idea of balance. And I'm also very, very fortunate to be a brand ambassador for a couple of brands that are supplements. And that's also really helped me.
Wonderful. Awesome. Awesome. So there are some questions on the Q&A tab. Rich, do you have a couple of minutes? Can we take 2 or 3 questions?
Yes, I do.
Maybe?
I'm not going anywhere. For me, it's still early here. So with pleasure.
Oh, great. Deepak, do you want to read the questions, or Anand, do you want to take those?
I can also see. So we hope
perfect.
you will consent to speak to us again. No. I'm a one-hit wonder. So there's Q&A as well. Okay, perfect. Q&A. Here we go. Yes, of course I'll come back. Please. That's the best compliment. Right. What are the best ways to work from home and work with virtual teams during pandemic, other than doing monthly or bi-weekly fun hour? Right. So I'm just talking about my experience, and that is that It's about expectations again. It's saying to people, asking people what they need. So if you have a team of people, it's what do you need? Are you looking for a one-on-one interaction? Are you wanting more of a team feel so we can feel that we're connected? What are you looking for? Is it a check-in daily that we check in first thing in the morning? What times are good for you? Imagine being a parent with little kids over this time. You've got these tiny little kids and somebody wants a meeting with you at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's like, no, I want to kill my kids at that time. And don't make me want to kill you. So I think it's managing expectations and open communication lines with people. So otherwise we're all sitting there thinking, well, I'd rather have this, I'd rather have that, I don't like that, I don't like this. So it's having those open conversations. That's the best advice I could give you, is ask about expectations, have those conversations. Let's figure out what's going to work for everybody. That would definitely be my plan. If I was the leader of a team during this time, that is exactly what I would do, and figure out what they need and try and keep them short if you know you're time poor. So I think that's what I would do. There's another one there, how to overcome mental or emotional stress. So I think I've covered a lot of that throughout the session, but more than anything else, it's what you choose to focus on. It's identifying when you're feeling like a victim and saying, but why am I feeling like a victim? Why am I feeling stressed? What are these things? Writing down a list of things that make me feel stressed. And very often when we just write down these things and these anxious thoughts, these stressful thoughts, and they're on a piece of paper in front of us, sometimes that's half the journey to solving them. It's just getting them out. Our brain, because remember, whatever we think, we get more of. So if I'm thinking about these things that are stressing me, I'm going to be thinking of more things that are going to stress me because I've trained in my brain to think about stress. Whereas I need my brain not to think about stress, which is why I need to get them out of my brain onto a piece of paper and then write down next to that, how can I solve this? Can I solve it? If I can't solve it, I need to accept it because it's not helping me. If I can't change it, I must move on. But if I can change it, what can I do? Write down those things. If this did happen, if this thing that I'm so fearful of, if that did actually happen, how would I deal with that? That's the optimism. Of course you can deal with that. Nobody's going to say it's going to be easy, but of course you can deal with it. So it's identify the things, be proactive, be intentional about identifying what it is that is making you feel like that, and then potentially coming up with solutions. And very often when we are negative to other people and we moan to other people and we vent to other people, we get the same stuff back. So that's why writing things down is quite good, or finding somebody that is, you know, a little bit removed from us that can maybe look in from the outside. So hope that helps. How easy or difficult is it to adapt to change? How long is a piece of string? It depends on your emotional energy. It depends on how bad you want something. So that race is a good example. I adapted. So did I think about the obstacles of that race? Did I think about the things that I was worried about during the race? Not at all. So all the things I was worried about on that beach, I didn't even think about. But some new things came up. Some big challenges came up, like breaking my shoulder and losing my bike. So how do you adapt to those things by focusing on the goal? So when we focus, when we're so clear about where we are going, an obstacle is a thing that you see when you take your eyes off the goal. So handling and adapting is knowing where you're wanting to go, having a clear vision and a clear idea of where you want to go and how you want to get there, and you will adapt because you're so focused on the goal. So I hope that helps. Dealing with emotions, just pretend they don't exist. I'm kidding. So dealing with emotions, wow. That's a tough one. And we're also unique at this. And there are times when I've really battled to deal with my emotions, and there are times when I'm fine with them. But more than anything, it's adapting. I mean, not adapting, it's recognizing what the emotions are. And why am I feeling like this? And I'm really lucky that I've got Deborah who calls me out. And if I'm feeling, if I'm a bit crappy with her, it's generally because I'm crappy inside. So she's quite good at not taking it personally all the time and saying, okay, Rich, why are you like this? Why, you know, I'm really battling with you. Why are you like this? And then I've got to be emotionally mature enough to say, okay, hold on. Why am I being like this? Why am I taking things out on her and saying, okay, it's because I'm feeling stressed about the fact that I don't have many bookings coming in, and I'm worried about money, and I'm worried about finances. So that's my stress. And how do I deal with it? I need to identify that. And only once we can identify those things can we actually do something about it. So for me, that emotional adapting and emotional resilience is really trying to get down to the bottom and being honest with ourselves, having honest conversations with ourselves. I think that's quite important for me. So we've got 3 more.
I
Gratitude.
think we can't
Are we
take
done?
more questions. Yeah, I think we are done. Thanks a lot for your time,
No
Rich.
problem.
I
No
have to make a
problem.
couple of announcements, guys. So if you are joining for the first time the Elite CISOs webinars and sessions, and you want to be part of the community, you can see that we have different groups across India, and we have international group as well, right? So if you want to be part of Elite CISOs forums or community, you can go to the Elite CISOs website, go to membership, and fill this form. So membership is only for CIOs and CISOs. So if you're a corporate CIO or CISO, you are more than welcome to fill this form, and then we will put you in a local chapter WhatsApp group. If you are not CIO or CISO, right, do not go to the membership, because membership is only for CIOs and CISOs. Go to the subscribe option over here and then fill this form. So if you are not CIO CISO, go to subscription, fill it, and you will receive all the details about the events that we do. Okay. And apart from that, if you want to receive the participation certificate for this session, go to Elite CISO's website, go to events, go to upcoming events, and then for this session, click on CP certificates, fill your email ID over here, fill your name. If you are ISC2 member, fill your membership ID, and the ISC2 admin will auto update your points to your profile. And then to download the certificate, the password is POWER. Okay, all small cases, just type power and you will get your certificate over the email. Okay, last thing coming up, guys, it is fastest finger first. Deepak is going to put a feedback form on the chat now. Deepak, you can put it now. And the first 5 people will get 2,000 rupees Amazon voucher, and rest everybody will get a assured return gift. Okay, thanks for your time joining in, guys. That's what I had to share. Thanks everyone. Thanks Rich. Thanks Palo Alto team. Thanks OWASP SeaSide. It's been phenomenal session. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. That last question is, what's my life's ultimate objective? Is to spread enrichment and to make people think differently. And I really hope I did it. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.